I want to make it clear that both from the position of the Barbados National Trust and myself personally, that we're not obstructionists, we are not opposed to any development that can only better the lives of all our Barbadian people. And so we recognize that in the short and medium run, tourism is really the only engine for our continued prosperity and economic growth. So we welcome the Sandals development. However, I must say that having come down here this morning, I am a bit taken aback and shocked. I had brought this development to the attention of a number of individuals, and in fact, to the best of my recollection, Sandals did say that, or my fears and the fears of the National Trust, that this area would be denuded of its extensive vegetation and tree coverage, that these fears were unfounded. But having come down here this morning, I see that quite a number of mature trees have been felled, and then I also see development on the way in the sea where a type of breakwater is being constructed. And I wonder whether the environmental impact assessment that ought to have been done for this project really was based solely in a correct assessment, and whether the long-term effects of both this type of deforestation, denuding of forest cover, exposure of the sandy area, topsoil, etc., or the creation of an artificial offshore reef, whether the future results of these developments have been thoroughly assessed. I would remind the developers with a quote from Holy Scripture: "What doth it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul?" And I say this because often as a young man I'd come here. There's a beautiful little creek that would run down here, which has come to an abrupt end here. I don't know what the eventual fate of this little creek will be. It was beautifully shaded. There were a number of trees that in Barbados certainly are relatively rare, including several species of white mangrove, which I see have been felled. It was a living creek full of fish. I would come and watch herons and egrets wade and fish. The occasional migrating belted kingfisher would come down, perch on a branch and fish. And the trees were alive with our local vireos, kingbirds, and other bird species. A lot of this now is stilled and silent. It's like Rachel Carson's Silent Spring has come to this area of Dover Beach. Another area that I find a particular concern is what will be the ultimate fate of the remnants of the old graveyard of Christchurch Parish Church. Because a number of those tombs are there, but they don't look in good condition. And as I said, I speak perhaps from a position of not being as fully appraised and informed as I might be. But I would love to know what the plans are for this remnant 17th and early 18th century graveyard. I'd love to know what the plans are for the creek. Will they retain it as a living water feature on the property? I'd love to know what their future plans are for the construction of these parallel quays and breakwaters that are being constructed, and what impact that will have both on offshore reefs and on the nature of the beaches themselves, things like turtle nesting. All of these questions I've never seen articulated and discussed in the press. And so I would challenge Sandals and the CEO looking after this particular development to provide us Barbadians with some answers that might perhaps allay our fears. Our fears may be exaggerated, but as I said, I'm still in a bit of shock. And I met some fellow Barbadians on the beach who hadn't been down here in over a year, and they themselves expressed shock at seeing the amount of deforestation that had occurred here. So I repeat, at the National Trust, we do not object to. In fact, we encourage sensitive developments that recognize that man and nature are part of a system and go hand in hand, and that any development needs to be ecologically and environmentally sound, and that in any development, any economic investment, nowadays in accounting there is this intangible where nature, the landscape, the environment is taken into account and actually counted when you're adding up your figures and so on. And so I would like to impress on the powers that be associated with this development, not to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but to respect nature and not to continue to destroy, but to conserve and preserve.